Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is VirtualNunchucks. Welcome to the channel. I'm so glad you're here today. Today, what I have for you is the Ghost of Tsushima review that I've been promising for a long, long time. Want to say thank you to everybody who understood why we had to postpone our review of this game, and appreciate it very, very much. But let's talk about Ghost of Tsushima. Um, First of all, this game, of course, is done by Sucker Punch Studios, the people behind Sly Cooper and the Infamous series, and most recently they did, to open up this generation, they did Infamous Second Son. And when I heard about Sucker Punch doing this particular game, I thought that's a weird choice because their other games are over the top, they're silly, they're definitely not grounded in reality at all. There are some serious moments in the Infamous series, but I was concerned, and I thought, is this game going to be any good? The story, of course, is your Jin Sakai, one of the main samurai, on the island of Tsushima, and you and your uncle and all the samurai of Tsushima are going to repel the Mongol invaders, led by Khotan Khan, and you get wiped out in this battle. And because you get wiped out, everybody gets wiped out except for the two of you, and you begin to evaluate, or reevaluate rather, the way you fight wars. And instead of being an honorable samurai where you look people in the eye, you honor your your samurai commanders and things like that, and you fight honorably. You begin to look at stealth techniques and stealth assassination and distraction and more ninja type skills, which are considered to be dishonorable at the time, and that causes a family rift in the story. But you decide that that's how you're going to do it. Your main objective is to protect the people of Tsushima, and as the story progresses, it gets more and more and more interesting. Um, I I gotta say, Khotan Khan, this dude right here, he is one of the more ruthless villains I've ever seen in a game. He doesn't care how he wins this war; he just wants to win it. Uh, and he resorts to, well, things like this. Just take a look. Watch. Yeah, he's not done.
Later in the game, you can collect artifacts here. Later in the game, there's a goblet artifact, the same goblet that Khotan Khan was carrying in this intro sequence, and it says that they use these goblets to carry anything from mare's milk to oil to splash on unsuspecting bystanders.
Yeah, so he's just ruthless and he does not care. He is a bad guy through and through, and I mean a well written movie bad guy. This guy, by the time you're done with this game, you want to chop this dude's head off, just like he did with. He's just bad, and you want to get him off the island. I mean, and this is a serious game. I mean, how much more serious can you get? The tone was set right there. He light the guy on fire, chop his head off, and try to wipe out the samurai and invade the island. I mean, these guys are serious. And I was very surprised at how serious this game ended up being. There's not a lot of humor in this game uh, at all. And the couple of times that there are humor is only provided by one side character in the entire game. Kenji is my favorite guy in the world, just because by the time you get to play with Kenji at all, you're ready for a break. You need a couple of laughs, and Kenji provides it. Kenji, by the way, is a sake merchant and a sake maker, and uh, he he provides humor where there needs to be humor. But he's a side character, so you don't get to see him as often. But the times that you do, like I said, it's a welcome respite for all the seriousness. They doubled down on the seriousness. There's horrors of war in this game, from children and wives being killed to entire families being wiped out, villages destroyed, um, prisoners of war, torture. There's all kinds of stuff in this game. So when you do finally get to the humorous side, from time to time, uh, it's a very welcome sight. Um, but the combat, because it's a samurai game, there's going to be combat. right? And the combat is broken up into three different trees. The stance tree, which you can see there are four. At the time of this particular clip, I only had two. And there's the ghost tree, and then there's the samurai tree. Samurai tree basically allows you to have different techniques, like the parries and things like that, and the roll moves and the evasion techniques that you have. The ghost tree is your slowly evolving tactics like smoke bombs and sticky bombs and stealth assassination and sneaky stuff. And then, of course, you have your stances, and each stance that you have, there are four stances, and each stance has its own skill tree where you that will allow you to fight the varying types of enemies easier. There's one for spears, there's one for swords, there's one for shield, and of course, I think I got them all: spear, sword, shield, uh, brutes. Brutes, that's the other one. And you're going to need to know how to use the stances and when to use the stances. The combat in this game is different. A lot of people, when they saw it, they thought, well, it's going to be like Assassin's Creed, where you parry a guy, you stab a guy, you parry a guy, you stab a guy, and they're all going to stand there and come at you one at a time. No, 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 no. That's not how this combat works at all. When you get surrounded by enemies, it's usually a group of several different types. It could be a spear guy, a shield guy, a brute guy, whatever. And they all come at you at once. They don't wait for their leader to attack you and then they attack you. They all come at you at once, and you have to continually dodge and then parry and then use another stance to take out the specific guy, and then it's crazy. It's frenetic, it's crazy, and it's definitely something that takes some getting used to. Because when you first start the game, you think it's really easy. It's square, and for light attacks, and triangle for heavy attacks, and L1 to block. Well, then they give you the stances and the different styles to fight with, and the different combos you can do, and it turns into this crazy dance, really. And there's no permanent lock-on system. There's a soft lock-on system, and the reason they did that is because you're constantly being surrounded by groups of enemies, so they want you to be able to maybe hit a guy here, and then because the other guy's coming in, maybe move to this guy and take this guy out or whatever. And it gets sometimes overwhelming to the point where I wanted to take my controller more than once and throw it against the wall and see if I could smash it into a million pieces because I kept dying. But once I got used to the idea of how the system worked and began to open up these skill trees, it became, hey, I'm going to go here to this camp because I want to get into a fight, or I want to fight these guys, because it became the most fun combat system I've played in a while.
Oh, look, some bandits.
Right.
Fight me.
Right. You were like, oh, look, guys on horses, bandits, yeah. And then you do a standoff, which is an awesome mechanic in itself. If you do get in a fight, you have an option to do a standoff, which when you first start out, I think it's one or two people that you can take out. One? Yeah, it's one. You can take out one guy before you start the battle proper. Okay, you get.
There's a technique point you have to spend to get this standoff streak.
Yeah, and then there's you can upgrade that standoff to like two or three different things, and then certain armor sets will give you even more. So by the time you're done, you can do like 4 or 5 different people if you get the armor set and you upgrade your tree enough. So basically what it means.
The armor set you need is very late game, though.
Yeah, the armor set you
Most
need
of
is
the
late game.
will only be able to do 3.
Yeah, but like, so you get to do these honorable standoff mini duel kind of things before you start the combat proper, and you can basically take them out. If you time it right, you can take them out in one hit. But the AI is smart in this game. They will actually bait you into doing stupid things. For example, in a standoff, sometimes they will act like they're going to come at you, but they don't, hoping that you will mistime your swipe so that they can take you out. And if you mistime it, they will stab you, and you'll come down with like a little tiny speck of health to where like if they touch you again, you're dead. And so I was baited several times. Uh, my son's been baited several times, and it irritates the daylights out of us because we're like, really? And it's just, you know. But once you get the timing down right and you can do it, it's really awesome, and it gives you a satisfying payoff because it's like one swipe and they just crumple to the ground. It's amazing. Um, and then you have set pieces like this in combat where you do a one-on-one duel. It's kind of like a boss battle kind of thing in these amazing little um, set piece duels where you're you're just going at it with a swordsman. And for each one of these duels, there's several. I think altogether I counted 20 different duels I got into, and for each one, they're unique because the characters have different fighting styles, and uh, and so you have to adapt to it, and you have to learn it. But it's also set in all these beautiful locations, and it's amazing to to do, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Um, so the combat's awesome, and the story's pretty good. I mean, there are certain aspects of it that fall flat, but it's usually around the varying side missions around the world that you can get into, because they broke the story into side missions like the regular side missions like you would have in any other open world game, like my daughter's missing, go find my daughter, or you know, or you know, I gotta go rescue my brother, or I gotta go, help me do this or help me do that. It's kind of like a fetch quest kind of thing. But then there are Tales of Tsushima, where each one of your allies in the game, the 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 different allies that you have in the game have their own set of tales about them that you can get involved in. Uh, and they have like some of them have 7 to 8, maybe 9 different stories, and it's an overarching story arc. Those have interesting payoffs because you get different weapon sets, and and because you get different weapon sets, you can get different charms to help your abilities and things like that. It's you know it's worth the time to take the Tales of Tsushima seriously. I know I sound very harsh on the side missions, but honestly, every time you do a side mission, you get something to help you along. Whether it's a charm to augment your abilities and your armor, to different, sometimes different sword sets, to different uh, armor sets entirely. That it's worth doing all of the side missions if for no other reasons because you want to do different, have all the armor sets because each armor set allows for different bonuses and things like that. And my dog is trying to get me to play with her, which is why she's making that noise with her toy. But it's definitely worth doing. It's just that some of them are a little bit more fetch questy than others, and others are more interesting and help the story narratives a little bit. So it's totally up to you how you wanna tackle it. I personally love all the different armor sets that you can get, and the different sword sets and different weapons and stuff that they give you. But some of the my most favorite quests are the mythic quests, and the mythic quests are tales or legends of Tsushima that have been passed out, through the generations to the different people of Tsushima, and it's interesting because you'll get things like a mythic bow or a special uh, powerful move that you might get. Like one of them is called a Heavenly Strike, where if you push a certain button combination, you get it's a very powerful strike that nearly kills your enemy in one hit. It's or you get um, things like that. And there's about four of those, and those are totally worth doing because there's one called the Dance of the Wolf or something like that, where you can take out three or four enemies at one time uh, by pushing a couple of buttons, and they have their own story arc. You might run into two or three different enemies looking for the same thing you're looking for, and have to get into duels or uh, you know different fights or whatever. And it's an interesting little side mission and different little story that just adds to the flavor of the world. And I gotta say, it's pretty amazing. Now, as far as different activities go in this game, you have everything from the side missions that I mentioned to the Tales of Tsushima about the different side characters, um, to the little mythic, the four mythic quests that you have in the game. Um, but you also have uh, shrines that you can pay your respects to and get different charms that help augment your abilities and give you special bonuses and things like that. Um, they're spread out all over the the world. There are two. There are the big major shrines, and then there are the smaller shrines that you pay your respects to. And that leads me into something that is very, very interesting, and that is the way you navigate the world. Um, because it's done very, very, very. Jolene, I'm not going to play with you right now, so just leave it. Sorry, guys. Um, but you just, um, you know, the way you navigate the world is very organic in nature. You follow foxes to different shrines uh, to pay your respects to. You can follow birds to different locations that are hidden on your map, like for example pillars of honor where you can get your sword sets from. They can lead you to big major places like hot springs to where you can rest in the hot springs and increase your maximum health. They can lead you to little mini games to increase your resolve meter, which allows you to do your special meter moves and your healing abilities and stuff like that. Um, they lead you to different locations like temples and things like that. Just places you wouldn't normally see unless you're just happen up on them. And that's the way the whole game is. There's no HUD for your mini map or your compass or your whatever. So in order to navigate to some place, you pick a place on your map, and then the wind guides you that direction. They call it the guiding wind, and you swipe up on your touchpad, and the wind will begin to blow in different directions, uh, corresponding to where you're wanting to go on your map. And you just start out that direction, and you might, I don't know, if you're like me, you might get distracted by a pillar of smoke that you see in the distance. So you might go that way uh, to check out that pillar of smoke. But then a little bit later, you can swipe up on the directional pad again and start heading back to where you were headed. There's no waypoints that show up on your HUD or anything like that. So it's very organic. They encourage exploration. So here's my recommendation: follow every bird you come across. Okay, follow every fox you come across, and look for those pillars of smoke, because what you might find is a Mongol camp, and it'll increase your level or give you a special item of some kind, like a weapon or a piece of armor or something like that that you're gonna need. Um, and then of course explore the island. Just take a moment to look at the gorgeous island and just go see what you can find. The only place I didn't really like in the island, and that's just because I don't like snow in video games in general, is the snowy parts of the game. Not because I don't like snow, or think snow is pretty, but white snow is always just white snow. So it's just, it is what it is. Um, but everything else is just so gorgeous, and you just want to explore it because you're just like, I wonder what's around this corner, or at least that's how I felt. Uh, that's not to say that everything is perfect in this game. The graphics, some of the little incidental characters, like the little people, the random incidents that you might find, like rescuing hostages or whatever. Those characters and the little tiny side missions that you get, those characters don't look so great. They kind of look copy and pasted, or like somebody, like a maybe a first year art student kind of did their lip sync and it doesn't work right. So they try to take the camera angles and give you a wider angle shot so it doesn't look so bad, but at the same time that doesn't pay off either because then it's just two people standing there and all you hear is dialogue and the wind blows and that's it. It's kind of weird. Um, and then there was the occasional glitch, like one glitch that I came across. I was meaning to get on my horse and I pushed the button to get on my horse an instant and I ended up in the sky on a tree. And as long as I was within range of my horse, I was fine. I could walk around in the sky. But as soon as I left the range of my horse, I fell down out of the sky and died instantly. So yeah, that was a thing. I actually tried to find it. I was going to put it in this review, but it's buried in the hundreds of gigabytes that I have of footage on this game, and I was not able to find it. But it is there. It does happen. So if it happens to you, let me know in the comment section below. Uh, that actually made me laugh really, really hard. Because I was just like instantly in the sky, just walking around on a tree, and then I fell out of the sky and died. It was weird. But, so we've talked about the story, we've talked about the combat, the side missions. They're worth it, if nothing else, for the gear uh, that you get and the weapons that you get. Uh, but some of them are just tedious. We've talked about the scenery. It's absolutely gorgeous to walk around. The visuals are gorgeous. It's a beautiful game. Let's talk about the music. The music is very, very minimal in this game. The only time that there's music is when you're in the middle of a maybe some combat, or if there's like an emotional uh, moment with some of the characters. But what music is here is very, very good, and does set the tone. Uh, for what's happening on the screen. The one or two times that it surprised me was when I walked up on a band of Mongols, and it was a big enough band of Mongols that they actually thought it needed epic music. And because it had been silent up until that point, I jumped a few times because I wasn't expecting it. You can play the flute to change the weather. You have a flute that you carry around. You can change the weather. If it's raining and you don't want it to rain, you can play the flute for a minute or two. It changes the weather. The different tunes that you can learn for your flute. They're pretty, but they're flute. They're on a flute. So if you're not into flutes, then don't play your flute. But in general, guys, this game is just pretty fun to play, pretty fun to look at, definitely beautiful to look at, and um, I think it's worth playing. I really do. I think it's worth playing. I think it's worth. The story has its ultimate payoffs. There are two endings to this story, um, two ways you can go, and each one is each choice that you make. Uh, the choices you make at the end of the story, because they're, like I said, they're two endings. So I've seen them both, and they both have their consequences, and they both have their emotional payoffs if you're invested in the story. So I think it's pretty cool how they did it. Uh, so yeah, guys, I really recommend you check this game out. If you don't want to get it right away, that's fine. You can always wait for a sale. But this game, being the last exclusive to the PlayStation 4, and you know, this is a pretty good way to send it off. So So, I mean, I do recommend you buy it. However, I will tell you that it's 50 plus hours of gameplay. So if you sit down, be ready to be committed to at least 50 plus hours if you do all the side missions and the tails and the main missions. It's 50 plus hours to get everything. I'm only three trophies, four trophies away from the platinum. There's a few things that I have not gotten yet, and I'm probably gonna play it again because it was that much fun to do. The one thing that I do know that they're going to do is they're going to add a co-op mode to this game. It's called Ghost of Tsushima Legends. It's going to be a free add-on to this game in the fall. The one thing I wish they would go ahead and do is give you a new game plus, because at this moment in time there isn't one. So if you are looking forward to that, sorry, at this point in time there isn't one. Um, my recommendation is just hang on to your main save, and then hopefully the next few months maybe they'll put it on there. But I don't know, seeing as how the PlayStation 5 is coming out in the next few months. So we'll have to see how that works out. In the meantime, though, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry this video was as long as it was. I was trying to get everything that I could possibly squeeze in to tell you about the game in this review. It just took a lot of time to do. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys will consider subscribing. And of course, let me know what you think of Ghost of Tsushima in the comment section below. We will see you in the next video. And until then, take care, guys.